This world is burning down. I sleep to stop the sound from helping it along. Just where did we go? Just where did we go? Just where did we go?
So this was my first NASCAR Busch Grand National race since the season opening Napa 300 on my Mike Skinner, Robbie Gordon 31st birthday celebration to kick off the NASCAR season. So there is a lot to talk about in this race, so let's get started. As always, the weekly Chris Wright caution because he's a garbage driver in person that has no business being behind the wheel of a Busch Grand National car, let alone a stock car alone and a race car in general. So it was basically the William Byron show in stages 1 and 2 until he got that speeding penalty. And it looked like he was out of the woods for a while because then Justin Allgaier proved that he had the dominant car of the day while Byron had the fastest car. Now that this race taught me there's a difference between the fastest car and the most dominant car. The fastest car is one thing, the most dominant car is another. Just like, the whole dominant car doesn't always win the racing, sometimes the fastest car doesn't always win the race. In this case, the fastest car won over the dominant car, but that Taylor Gray flat tire should have been a debris caution, like right on the dot. I don't know why the fuck it took NASCAR 5 goddamn minutes to throw the flag. It's like, why is it that if it's caution worthy of a debris caution or a caution worthy caution, it takes them 5 minutes to throw it, but whenever it's something light where it's not caution worthy, someone goes up the track, God forbid, and taps the wall barely, no debris comes out, and NASCAR gets tail happy with the trigger, with the caution light button, and just pulls the trigger and calls an immediate flag. It's like, this shit is half-assed backwards, and that basically set the tone for the rest of the race, as it was wreck after wreck after wreck, after caution, to the point where I eventually went into overtime. I was like, Jesus fucking Christ, guys, can we stop wrecking so we can end this? Because by the time the overtime caution came out, I was ready for the shit to end. That way, we can get ready for tomorrow's Indy 500 and Coca-Cola 600. But overall, I say it was a respectable race. It was just the wrecking at the end just made it more chaotic than it already was. And my boy Austin Dillon was leeching in it, but he came back from a pit road penalty to finish in the top 15 after that last lap wreck, which, CW had a hell of a lot better broadcast today than garbage-ass Fox did yesterday in the truck race, because at least when Briscoe hit the wall at the end of the first stage, they actually showed it to us before going to the first commercial break, where with the Breidinger incident happened at the end of stage 1, and Fox never showed it to us till after they came back. And that whole bit with Daniel Dye losing a wheel was kind of hilarious. You picked a fine time to leave me loose, wheel. Congratulations to the real winner of the CarQuest 300, Connor Zilisch. I mean, this bushwhacking / Winston Cup leeching has to come to an end at some point, right? Where NASCAR permanently prohibits all Winston Cup drivers from ever participating in the Craftsman Truck and Bus Series ever again. And for those saying, but the young, the up-and-comers like to learn from the best of the best, and so that way they know what to do when they move up to the big leagues. That reasoning has been a lame excuse for that excuse card has been has been like the lamest excuse and a most illegitimate reason for the longest time. I can understand it in the Winston Cup and Gen 4 days, but that excuse card has that reasoning has hit its expiration date a long time ago. I mean, learning from the best of the best doesn't mean a damn thing in today's NASCAR. If those drivers, those Winston Cup drivers who are full-time running for Winston Cup points and not Busch and Craftsman Truck Series points, have already, proved themselves when they were up and coming back in their day. So, therefore, there's no need to, beat up on little kids that are, coming up through the ranks, and trying to make a name for themselves one day, following the footsteps of those said Winston Cup drivers and even Winston Cup drivers of the past that are either retired or dead. So, therefore, the up-and-comers like to learn from the best and get the hang of it is like a invalid reason and an illegitimate argument. And an invalid reason, an illegitimate argument, and an irrelevant lame excuse. Now that that doesn't mean that has no value. It's like if those drivers prove themselves, there's no need for them to run in the lowest area. That just stinks up the show, and the up and comers can learn how to figure this shit out on their own by racing against each other. I mean, that whole thing, learn from the Winston Cup drivers racing, and there's the series that they're mainly focused on, mainly a regular in, has run its course, and that ship has sailed for a long time now. It just it just that excuse card does not work anymore like it did back in the Gen 4 Winston Cup days. I mean, sure, Dale Jr. and Mark Martin, people like them, fine, okay, fine. But today's drivers do not even. And I say this as an Austin Dillon fan, they do not hold a candlestick to bushwhacking compared to the drivers that we saw back in the day. I mean, if the best of the best want to learn, if the up-and-comers want to learn from the best of the best, why don't you watch the races on Sundays, the day after you go to work on the track on Saturdays? So that's basically how it is these days. I do not want to hear the excuse of they want to learn from the Winston Cup drivers by following them in their series that the regulars in, because that shit doesn't fucking work no more. Because now that exactly explains why NASCAR limited how many starts a Winston Cup driver can make in the lower series in Busch and Craftsman, so it's not sneaking up the show. It was fine. Back then it was fine in Winston Cup and Gen 4 and Busch, because different generation, different. It was a different style of NASCAR back then compared to now. But anyway, ranting aside, this was a fun race, I guess, but it was a little too fun. It was a little too chaotic for me. It was already chaotic enough for all those drivers dropping like flies. But then as soon as the whole BS late ass caution call for the Taylor Gray flat tire for debris came out, the way they just waited 5 minutes to call that debris caution, that basically set the tone for the rest of the race. They just wouldn't stop wrecking. It was not as stressful as the Samsung Radio Shack 500 a few weeks ago in Winston Cup, but man, as soon as the checkered flag flew and that last lap wreck happened with like 3 or 4 cars, I was so thankful it was over with. When I came up the stairs to do it and told my mom I was glad it was over, and you know what her response was? Me too. Because basically she had to hear me scream at the TV every 5 minutes, because we have thin walls in our house. Basically had to hear me scream at the TV through the floor and through the walls of the house, through the floor of the main floor of the house, and connected to the walls of the house. We have thin walls to the point where she heard me through the walls and the floor in the basement ceiling screaming. Like, basically all she had to hear, and of course her and my grandfather heard me bitching about the BS late debris caution call when Taylor Gray had the flat tire. But I don't want to make this video any longer like last night, so why don't we just cut this shit off here, and we'll get ready for tomorrow's big day of racing, Indy 500, where we're gonna have a good lunch, and the Coke 600, where we're gonna have hamburgers for dinner, as we're gonna eat a steak dinner tonight. So have a good night tonight and a better day tomorrow. Take care, everyone. Good night. And leeching is no bueno in the sport of NASCAR. Congratulations to the real winner of the CarQuest Auto Parts 300 at Charlotte Motor Speedway in the Busch Grand National Series, Connor Zilisch. See you all tomorrow for when we go through a whole day of racing with the Indy 500 and the Coke 600. And you're probably wondering, Mark, what about Monaco? Well, the last time I tried that in 2018, of how excited I was to watch all 3 races, being Jeff Gordon, 24 years old, I did not go to bed in a reasonable time the night before, and when I woke up, I somehow managed to wake up early enough for that race. It was a miracle, and I ended up falling asleep for most of it, because I was still my body said I wanted to go back in bed, but I did not listen to it and just wanted to watch Monaco in the morning and have ice cream and milk for breakfast. So I sat on the floor and just slept. By the time I woke up, the race was over. So I am never watching Monaco again for that reason. So we'll see you tomorrow for the next video. Well, for the Indy 500 and the Coke 600. I don't know if I'm going to do Indy 500 and Coke 600 mixed together. But now that I think about it, I'm probably going to, if I do an Indy 5, if I want to recap the Indy 500, that'll get its own video, while the Coke 600 will get its separate video, and we'll probably schedule it for a Monday morning upload. And since we still have plenty of time tonight before we go into tomorrow's big day of racing, we will upload this video right away and not have to schedule it for an early Sunday morning upload. So see you mañana for a full day of racing in Indy and Charlotte for the 500 and the 600, and some good food and ice cold Coca-Cola. See you later, everyone.
This copyrighted telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of NASCAR Broadcasting. NASCAR would like to thank all of our fans for your support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.